Hi, Sarah.
Doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good. So today we're going to talk about organizing data overload using timelines. And this came to mind because of the Epstein case. I've actually heard some people say that part of the strategy as far as those Epstein files was to release so many that you couldn't deal with them because there's just so much material. And it doesn't matter. We don't even have to do with the Epstein case. It could be any other case where you have so much material you just don't know what to do with, especially if the case is something that's like in the public eye where you end up with misinformation, disinformation going across all social media. People maybe making AI, fakes, deep fakes, that sort of stuff. Just too much information. So what we thought is we'll talk about putting the data overload into timelines. But if you have too much data, you have to sift through first to figure out what data you're going to put in those timelines. Right, Sarah?
Right.
So we wanted to highlight, again, some of the things that you might come across. So let me throw our first link up there, and that is AI fakes. Again, we're going to use the Epstein files as an example. None of the scary Epstein files, just the flight logs, all right? But we want to make sure that we get them from a good source so we don't end up with like the AI fakes of even that, because there may be some flight logs that are engineered to mess up your whole investigation that are out there kind of laying around, right? So what I ended up doing is I grabbed the flight logs from the DOJ, from the Ghislaine Maxwell case, but then also from some of them that were uploaded to Wikimedia, and then also from the Internet Archive. Although I know that there's some other good places, like I know that Gmail claims to have all those files, and there's been a couple of other archives up that are online that people have said are, trustworthy. I didn't go to those ones mostly because I wanted to make sure I just got timelines. I don't want to see anything else right now. Mm-hmm. So kind of stayed very focused. So addition to that, you need to think about where you're going to go and which ones you're going to get. If it's something like not quite the level of the Epstein files and you're looking for good data, and maybe it is something like the Epstein files, but the fact is maybe that the data is not out there in a one coherent source yet, right? So maybe it's like other people have put it, here a little bit of information here, a little there, or whatever. You got to learn how to kind of evaluate the news. And so we have the article from the Digital Resource Center, Unit 3, Evaluating the News. Sarah.
Yes. So this was actually just a very good article on explaining how to evaluate the news. And I thought it was a good read for digital literacy, for understanding what you should look at as far as when you're looking at the source. So
yeah, and if you notice, this is coming from the Digital Resource Center, the Center for News Literacy. So the idea is the whole thing is about evaluating your sources.
Right. And one of the things I just wanted to say is with when you're talking about pulling qualitative data, is the Epstein files is a great example of flooding the information environment with disinformation in order to either do somebody's doing an adversarial perception management op, or in some instances to even try and discredit other people who are trying to say, okay, these Epstein files are bad, because maybe they'll grab onto a story that's not true and they'll be like, look, they're putting out deception.
And I think even another one would be when people, if they wanted to target a person, to like insert him in their collection of the Epstein files.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
So again, you need to make sure you evaluate your source. In the case of the Epstein files, you can get the files from the DOJ, although redacted. And there are some files that the DOJ have released there, but you can't find them unless you figured out what the Reddit users have figured out, and instead of using the PDF at the end of it, I think that they were putting other endings of different files, like movie file endings and picture file endings and all that kind of stuff, and finding out there were more documents there, just basically fuzzing the URLs. So something that's really interesting. But
And
another,
you just raised a really interesting point, though, is one of the other things that you have to be careful about in an information environment like that is making sure that you are getting those files from a legitimate source, because this is a perfect environment to make fake files and to do spear phishing attacks and just general phishing attacks and malware attacks and things like that. So I think
you've seen a whole bunch of people who are like rehosting databases. I've seen a number. The ones I've seen, I think, are real, but I haven't really been looking for any.
Right. Yeah, you could set up a whole entire fake website.
I mean, you could rehost most of them and have like most of them be honestly the right ones, and then you insert the file you want to like poison the well with, maybe against a person, or to make it look like it's all fake. And Cynthia is here. So
Hi, Cynthia.
So JPEG, you're saying some of the files you can replace them with the JPEG instead of the PDF. And again, what do you mean by blank? Just delete? Oh, delete PDF. Okay. So she's been paying attention apparently to the fuzzing of the URLs. So Cynthia, let us know anytime if you want to come and be one of our guests. We got another resource, same sort of thing. This is the Ask Molly, identifying trustworthy information coming from CIA. And so you've got some information.
It just has, it has some good basic tips on what you should look for primarily in like a news article.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. And Mrs. OSINT is here as well. Hello, welcome.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for coming. One of this article and the first article, one of the points that's made in both of those is prior to utilizing the information is to actually, like, when you're absorbing it, is to stop and pause. Mm-hmm. And so many people will grab something and go with it and repost it because it fits their core belief, or it's something that, emotionally impacts them. And they're not stopping and pausing and looking at it and thinking, is this real?
Yeah, and the thing is, everybody has biases. Nobody is free of biases. So you stop, you pause, you start thinking, what would my, hopefully you've already evaluated your biases. Maybe that would be in a whole nother episode. Mm-hmm. But try to figure out like how to set those aside, the ones that you've already evaluated and knowing that there's probably still others you haven't, but try to think critically through it. And then, this one says establish credibility, verify, and stop the chain.
Right.
Mm. And that's stop the chain is so important. People just passing on these documents or these, things without thinking about them critically, sometimes only even reading the headline and then pushing it forward. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I've seen lots of people do that, even on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. We also have another resource for you. The Piedmont Virginia Community College has How Do I Evaluate a News Story? So if you don't want to get the resource from the CIA or from the other organization, here's a community college even. I think most colleges do have some sort of page like this.
Yeah, well, this one I liked because it had a good reference list of other references that you can go use, which are like free classes on digital literacy.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yep. And speaking of universities, we got the Rutgers University's page, and specifically they have a little acronym for dealing with their evaluation.
Yes, so it's easy to recommend. So there it says SIFT. So it's stop, investigate, find other coverage or better coverage, and then the last one is to trace the claims. But I would add the other one is also trace the sources.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then one of the things that I've learned in the past is that sometimes you'll have a source that'll be good and very trustworthy on one topic and be completely off in left field on another, right? Or in right field or whatever it is, because maybe the bias of whoever owns it, that bias might turn them in a certain direction on certain topics, or because of inexperience. Like they normally do reporting on sports, but now there's something, politics having to be coming across sports or whatever, and that's not their, normal lane, but they're jumping into it too because of the, convergence of the topics. So you do have to think about, the source itself and whether it's trustworthy, but whether it's trustworthy across the different topics. All right. We have a page from Tom Rosensteel, The Essentials of Journalism.
Right. So this one was a different take on evaluating information. So the first one was the first circle, or the innermost circle, is like direct observation. The second one is
they might graph.
No, there's no graph there. The second one is when someone runs up and they've observed it directly and says, "I help. There's a car there that is broken down, or it's been in a wreck." The third one is when somebody talks about the second one and says, "Oh, somebody told me that there was a wreck." And so when you're looking at information and sources in concentric circles, is obviously the one that usually has the most factual information is the innermost circle. But journalists, when they're doing reporting, are usually getting it from the second and third circle. And so that's why it's really important to try and get more than one source and to cross compare your data. And then to look and see if they've cited their sources and some of those telltale signs. So like if they say, oh, it's an undisclosed source or it's a secret source, sometimes that can actually be a part of a recipe for a disinformation story, and sometimes it can be a legitimate source who's hiding their identity. You have to kind of gauge that.
And I see that they used a case study of the Gabby Gidford shooting, which is in my town. But my example would be the AI pictures of the Pentagon explosion. I don't know if you remember a while back, it was when the AI photos and stuff was pretty new, but there was one source that had a image of an explosion at the Pentagon, and the stock market dropped for a second and then recovered because it wasn't true. But the thing is, that's one source. If somebody was really blowing up the Pentagon, there'd be pictures all around, because we all have our little monitoring devices on us, and not to mention the houses do as well, and the cars do, and so yeah, you definitely need to find the rest of the sources, right? Okay, and let's go back to talk about the Epstein again for just a moment. So this is a small OSINT team turned the Epstein files dump into actionable evidence. Sarah, you found this one specifically.
Yeah. So I just thought this was interesting because it shows how one team did their analysis, and it took some notes on it. So I'm sharing part of my notes just because I couldn't remember all of it. But first is they did an initial entity extraction of qualitative data with what, which goes to what Kirby was talking about before building the timeline, is making sure that you're pulling data from legitimate sources and that you kind of vet it a little bit before you utilize it into your production. So that's in your collection phase. And then they used they threw some specialized tooling in there to help with their human analysis. Specifically, what they did is they went ahead and they used Maltego. So with the Maltego, they use that for geographic linkage, history, and patterns, and looking at like persistent relationships. And then the last three steps they did is they did a graph construction and visualization. And they utilized Grok for their AI support for chronological analysis and partial analysis, which I think that's an interesting use of AI. I would, though, argue that in this instance, given the each LLM is different and each algorithm is different, and some LLMs also have their own biases.
All LLMs have their own biases.
Yeah, I would have actually used more than one AI system to cross compare to make sure that the data is kind of consistent between both. And then to see it, to cross compare what's provided as far as hallucinations. And then the fifth step and final step that they did was they took an effort of doing responsible and ethical disclosure. So that means that they thought about what would the impact be on the audience, or if there was something that would be contentious, that it be worded without being upsetting, or that there would be a warning, and that kind of packaging for presentation. So I thought it was neat. I think it was a neat project on their part.
Yeah. And so that's kind of, how they dealt with like an overload of data. And again, everybody can deal with it different. Again, my number one thing would be get that timeline. Get the timeline first. Sometimes it's one of the easiest things, and it automatically puts things into some kind of organization. And there's a lot of cool tools that'll help you with timelines. And that's what we're going to show you now. So we're going to kind of go into some of the tools. I want to talk about some note-taking tools for a moment. So things like Microsoft OneNote, or another one that's really popular is Obsidian. Some of these tools can help you create your timeline. Some are better than others, but some of the other specific timeline tools are worthwhile checking out. So in the case of OneNote, that's very free-flowing. I believe they do have some timeline features already. Obsidian, I find that Obsidian's actually pretty easy, because you could actually set up a tab for each day, and it'll automatically create the timeline. I also really, and Sarah knows this, I love Notion, right? But Notion doesn't have like a timeline set up. You could do your own text timeline on there. But I really like the idea of checking out some of the timeline apps that are out there. And so I haven't even played with most of these, so we're gonna kind of test them out ourselves. First, before we test them out, time.graphics. Sarah, what would you do before you threw some data into this one?
Into this one? I probably put it into an Excel spreadsheet first.
Well, I was thinking about the website itself.
Oh, the website.
What would you do before you use time.graphics?
Well, I'd check and make sure it's safe, and I'd evaluate it.
Yeah, exactly. Evaluate the website, right? So Mrs. OSINT says, I'm glad I came this evening. I'm taking notes. Good stuff. Hey, thank you.
So, as far as me evaluating it, first thing I would do is I'd look at the site's tracking. Then I would probably look at first I'd look at the site's tracking. Then I'd look at who owns it. Then I'd look at what their collection or their toss is, and whether or not they're keeping my data. And then I would gauge if I wanted to use it, overtly outside of an isolated environment, or if I feel more comfortable using it in an isolated environment.
Right. Okay, perfect. And yeah, you want to vet your tools. I didn't do a lot of deep vetting with these guys. All I know is they're not going to give me malware right now. So we're gonna play with them, and then we're gonna evaluate a different way. We're gonna see like how easy is it to get the data in, and how easy it is for how it looks, how easy is it to use. All of the ones we're going to show you tonight are free and online that anybody can use. All right, so I just want to make sure that's. Oh yeah, so Cynthia says, I'd look for any updates or for any complaints and reviews.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Check for malware, check for reviews, check Crunchbase so you can identify like the company itself. A couple of things that you could definitely do to really dig into these. All right, and so for right now, these ones aren't in our knowledge base at the moment, but they will be, so eventually. All right, and I'll put all the links as I go through them into the chat. So those of you who are watching live, you can just go ahead and click through the same ones we're going to use. And again, people who watch later on YouTube, you'll have that all in the show notes. So right now, this is time.graphics. And I did log into this one. So we're going to go and see how well it does as far as creating our free online time maker. What I'm hoping to get is something where I can throw a document in and have it just automatically do some things for me, right? So kind of dived in here. It says use keyboard arrows to move the timeline. Use mouse or trackpad to drag or zoom the timeline. All right, so we can zoom around or whatever. And it looks like we add everything manually here. Let me double check to make sure there's not a way to add it in automatically. All right, so no way to add things automatically. Let's go into my profile. No. But it looks like it's going to be fairly easy to make an event, right? So I can go here. I can pull something from my Google Calendar. That's kind of interesting, huh? This one is multi-statistics, all right? Grouping, and it's got a YouTube button for some reason. Maybe it's a YouTube. I'm wondering if these are like tutorials. Video tutorials. So that's also really nice. This one comes with video tutorials on them. Reporting APIs. Okay, so you can pull an API into that. That'll be nice. All countries' data. So you can pull data that's not your data from other places. We'll see how that works out. Statistics again, percentage, time period, and event. Let me see about this data. All right, select region, and we'll go to the United States. Category. And again, we're trying to deal with the flight logs. So I don't know, I'm just going to throw science and detection. No, this looks like it's just helping you graphically create stuff for it. All right, and then in here where it says new reporting, I can say Epstein flight. And you can put a little bit of a description here. Okay, so this description is actually hidden. You have to come in and look into this panel for it afterwards. Wait, where did it go? I don't think I saved it. All right, but it's functional, but a lot of this one you'd have to do manually, right? So we're going to kind of move on to the next one. And the next one, this next one where I'm not actually going to demo this one, but this one is coming from NightLab. Honestly, NightLab has had a timeline tool of some sort for decades, I feel. I mean, at least 20 years, I think. So this timeline, making a timeline, they've had it, but it's kind of an Excel program. If you love Excel, you definitely can go and check it out. Let's go take a look at some of the timelines that they have created already. So let me quickly, and I think I might have to release some of my protections on my browser to see this stuff. Oh, there we go. No, that's a big ad. Huh. All right, well, I'm not getting to see this this timeline. Let me go back to this. Maybe a different browser, something to kind of go and look at. Let me give you the link because just in case I forget it. But let's throw that into the chat for those of you who are here. Make a timeline. You'll notice that right there you get a spreadsheet template, and then you can actually publish things to the web if you want to. I think if you don't, you can just publish to an HTML file, I'm pretty sure. So you don't have to actually put it on their website if you don't want to, but kind of interesting. And so if you do publish it onto their website, you can actually share it to other people. But again, I probably would just keep it into my own, my investigative templates are not for other people's viewing. All right, let's do another one. Smart Draw. All right, so smartdraw.com. We are going to click Make Your Timeline and see how easy this one is. There we go. And it's got some planning, diagrams, etc. So it looks like this is actually not just for timelines. It will do all sorts of different diagramming. I'm looking to see if I can find timeline on the sidebar here. And I don't actually see it. Do you see that? I'm going to search the templates. Timeline. Oh, there we go. So here's some timeline designs. This one looks good. Legal timeline. Mm-hmm. And I think that this also might be kind of a manual thing where you just recreate, you can take over the, yeah, it's got this different symbols. And in here, I wonder if I can just, yeah, I can, oh, no, maybe not. So there's, I mean, you could do things like this in Canva or in almost any of the kind of the art programs as well. So I've got this box now. If I can figure out where do I get the text for that. Timeline, what are you? Nope. So this one looks like it might be, oh, it's got AI. Oh, okay. I have an account. I already signed in, I thought, but okay. So anyway, it looks like you can, drag these around. At least, the very least, it's tied to the line. What up, Sarah?
I was just going to say, one of the things I like about the box charts, like the legal time one and the design project timeline, is it's similar to, it's not the exact same, but it's similar to U.S. military time event chart, a tech chart. And I think that, it's helpful to kind of show the event with the, as it relates to timeline versus just doing sometimes then just doing, one sentence kind of thing. Like if you need, you can add more description on it if you need to.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
in this case, like you'd start with this one and you would just replace all the different words with what you wanted to do.
Right.
Right. And if you needed to, there's a lot of room here. So they actually have like a lot of content right there. So this one's not too bad. Again, that's Smart Draw.
Yep.
All right. OfficeTimeline.com. Oh, I just put Office Timeline without putting the whole URL. Sorry about that. All right, so OfficeTimeline.com is the next one, and it makes effective Gantt timelines. So we're going to go ahead and work in a browser. All right. And we want to, maybe we'll do this kind of detailed development version timeline. There we go. And I'm wondering if we can upload things into this one. So here, use, I guess. Okay, this is great because I bet you could also import things. This looks like a spreadsheet anyway with the different columns. So this is the data part to it, and then here's the timeline. And we can actually click into the timeline and change things directly in the timeline too. So as far as that goes, this one has like some different views of it. And let me see if there's a way over here, download. Oh, it's premium download. There's our little timeline settings. Let's see. We don't care about what day of the week it is. Cancel. I'm wondering if upgrading, you could probably save, home, undo, and redo. If you get a paid account, you can probably import spreadsheet because right now you can tell this is basically a spreadsheet right here. I know that there are ones that are free that you can do the spreadsheet with, so we are going to continue onwards. Another one that looked interesting to me when I was kind of researching this is Venngage. And I think one of the cool things with Venngage is that it does all sorts of infographics, not just timelines, right? So am I sharing it yet? No.
Not yet.
All right, there we go. So again, here's Venngage. Again, you can do all sorts of infographics and different types of things, charts, etc. If I go over to the timeline section, so here we are. How would I like to start? Would I like to customize a template or generate with AI? I'm just going to have it generate and see what happens. So we'll go ahead and generate it because some of these are specifically AI content. So it doesn't look like timeline's not the default thing here. But what I will do is I will say create a timeline from the attached document for the first quarter of 2002. And this is because this document that I have is huge. So I know that there's a good chunk of stuff in the first quarter of 2002 because I was testing some things out. And again, my attached document is going to be an Epstein file document. So let's see. All right, so it's uploading. Oh, upload failed. I wonder if it's now that was a big document. So let me try a different document. I just don't know the dates on the other documents, but we'll just punt it. Okay.
It says file too large. It has to be less than 10 MB.
Oh, I don't know if I have any files that size. Again, problems with some of these is that the content is too much on the free accounts, right? All right, so I put in a spreadsheet that I had earlier made ChatGPT create for timeline. So one of the things I thought was, let me show you some of this data first before I go into it, and I'll show you why I kind of ran it through ChatGPT. And that is, let me. All right, and I will share that. Sorry, you guys know how slow I am with sharing screens. So, now I just need to find that file that I just opened. Hold on. Dead space, sorry about that. All right, so here we go. Now let's see if I can figure it out. It is B flight log. There we go. All right, this is the document, right? The flight logs. And you can see that there are somewhat faint. They're also handwritten, and just basically a mess. But throw it into an AI tool and have it kind of make sense of it for you. And so I was ignoring the actual list of people who were on these flights. JE, of course, being Epstein, but I wanted to get all these flights to and from into a spreadsheet so I could put them into our timeline creators. So basically, this is the stuff that I ended up starting with.
So Kirby, one of the questions I have is the prior tool that you were showing, so that has OCR recognition?
Well, theoretically, the AI part, but it wouldn't let me. Oh, you mean the ones that I'm looking at right now? The one I just uploaded the file to? Yeah, I mean, it's AI. I would think it has OCR. I don't know. Most AIs do, I believe. But it wouldn't take my big files. It wouldn't take this file because it was too big. Okay. So I put the spreadsheet that I just took a chunk of the stuff, and I believe it's the 2002 data again, and threw it into this. This one specifically is 1993. If you look right, I don't know if you guys can see my little arrow, but 1993. So we're talking, it actually goes from 1991 to 2018, I think, these logs do. So, all right, so we'll just kind of remove that one now, and we'll go pick up our infograph tool again. All right, let's see. Venngage, there we go. Okay, and we're gonna go back to this one. Oh, well, add the stage, all right. Now we'll go back to this one, what will you create today? Okay, so you can see how my file is there. My file is there, so I'm just gonna say, create a timeline from the attached document. And we'll just see what it does. Now, normally I would say give it more instructions than this, because if it's AI, you need to tell it how you want it to come out. It might come out with a timeline, but the meaningless stuff, right? You might say, okay, I want a timeline, then there's a to and the from, and you might say, what kind of timeline? I'm going to show you another tool that's actually going to help us figure out our timeline, what kind we want, but I'm just going to go ahead and generate that design right now. It looks like maybe if that's a small file, I'll probably use that same file for everything. All right, so it's scan. Looks like it might actually tell us what type of design. It's taking a little time though. But it looks like this one would also create, like flowcharts and infographics and things like that if you wanted to as well. And via AI, you could like upload the data and say, okay, I want an infographic with this, kind of thing. It looks interesting, and free account. I don't know how far you can go with free. Like I said, like some of the other things, you can't go too far with free. All right, then Paige, you're going to take some time. We're going to come back to you. Let's go look at another one really quick. All right, so here we got ChronoFlow. Let me get that URL into the chat. All All right, so there's Chronoflow online timelines. Let's go to my account. I did sign in. And so I'm going to create my two timeline. We're going to go Epstein. And it gives us a couple of things. Standard split 3D timeline, vertical split timeline. So I guess we'll probably just go with the standard for now. Create a new timeline. All right, there's a tutorial video, which I would suggest watching, but because we're not going to watch that through here on this show, I'm going to go ahead and close that and just see what kind of information I can do. I see some icons up here. There's a timeline, a pin board, a list view, a slideshow, and a print panel. Support feedback, my timelines, about this timeline. I'm not seeing somewhere where I can upload, or there's a plus sign. That's for events. So this is kind of like that first one where you have to actually manually add the events. But I think it's going to be, perfectly functional. So create a new event. Yep, here's our create. So it could be like flight 20 whatever, 2003. And then I'm wondering how much material can I throw in here. Well, it looks like I can put quite a few bit in there. Put our timeline category. We can add our own categories on here. So that's good. So maybe I want to highlight the ones that Epstein's in, right? So I'll say, because he's not on every single one of these flights. So Epstein on board. And we'll leave that red. We'll leave the icon. All right, save the changes. All right, and panel, okay. Format, colors, we can add some colors to it. Yeah, let's add some colors to it. Oh, okay. They're gonna give me some themes. All right, I'm not gonna go too far into the colors and things, but this one looks perfectly easy, even though you can't upload stuff. I wouldn't put the Epstein stuff into this one because, again, there's so much stuff. Of those logs, that log that I just showed you, at least 100 pages of that. And that's just the logs, right? So I think I would want something that I can upload to, but if this is going to be something where it doesn't have to be such a huge timeline, maybe it's the event timeline for our case, this might be the one to use. Let's go to another one. Actually, let's go see if Venngage has decided to be done. Ooh, it is. Let me go over here. All right, remember that we just added in this one, this is Venngage, we just threw stuff in there, and I can ask for changes, etc. as well. And so we can see the timeline from that. I don't know, this isn't from that whole document for sure. But we can see some of this, got the information down here below, color-coded to go with whichever one it was belonging to. So this is a pretty nice one. I like this Venngage one. Probably have to play with it a little bit to get something that I would want to use. Let's go to another one. This one's called Precedent. And so let me throw that also into the chat. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, they're all in the body of the description below. Okay. Choose an initial layout. And create our timeline. All right, so add event, add layer, and share. Let's add layer. Okay. Okay, I see what the layer is. That's each color. So for example, we could say that, okay, the ones that Epstein's on, we put them in the green layer, etc. I am not seeing, ooh, create with AI. I don't see a place where I can upload any files though. Although maybe you could just copy and throw some stuff in there, you know? I got some suggestions for us. Well, let's see if it can find it itself. All right, so generate with AI. Normally, I would say if you're going to have the AI create the timeline too, you want to double check against your documents because AI hallucinations and AI maybe poisoning another well, that sort of thing. Where is it getting its documents from? Where is it getting the information it's pulling? I don't know. I know I got it from a trusted source, right? And I want to make sure it matches up with my trusted source information. So, all right. We'll come back to this one as well. Next one I have on here, let's see. This one is called mylens.ai. So we'll throw that one in here. And add source. So we'll add my source again. And I guess we'll grab that Excel file again. Oh, it won't let me throw the Excel file in there. I got to throw in one of the other ones. All right, wish me well. We'll hope that one of these flight logs like the one I showed you will work. It's thinking about it. All right, while it thinks about it, let's go back to precedent, because precedent is ready. All right, here we go. Again, this one just went and got it from the internet. So I do not know how accurate it is. I'm going to test it against my data, but maybe it's accurate enough that I can, anything that I find that it's inaccurate, I can maybe, fix. And it actually threw the passenger list in there, the flight incidents, and any itineraries I found. So that's interesting. Let's go into, let's see, the passenger list. What's the passenger list from this one? Notable figures. Okay, what were the notable figures? What are you telling me? So that's interesting. It's not giving me any sources for that. It looks like it's easy precedent, but question is whether or not it's going to be too useful. But again, if I can put my own material in there, maybe it'll be better. All right, let's go back to my lens, which has uploaded that source. All right, so now I'm going to say create a. Why is everything? Oh, I'm like, why is everything in capitals? Because I have caps lock on. All right. So I'm just going to tell it I want the to and from locations. All right, we got our source in there. And you can see over here, it's got 8% processed. So again, this one's going to take a little while as well. We'll move on. This next one I want to show you, while that one's working. This one is bibsit, and this is going to be creating things in diagrams, but you have to put the code in for the diagram, and then it's going to show you the code, right? This is a sample code, whatever it is. Let's go ahead and take a look at what that is. All right, so there it's a flow chart for ordering a pizza and for the pizza people to keep your customer calm. All right, so we don't care about that. We're going to go ahead and delete all that, but you do have to get something in a code, right? Now, where I found this one, I found somebody on Reddit advertising it, and basically they also gave us the code. Make a mermaid Gantt chart showing the timeline of with the following. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and I'm actually going to ignore the rest of this stuff, and I'm going to go and put it into, oh, I'm not even showing you that, am I? Sarah, yell at me when I'm not showing things. All right, here's the Reddit page. Let me put the, I'm going to get the link to the tool and throw this in. And then I'm going to get a link to the Reddit page that I'm getting the source. This is where I picked this one up and it looked interesting enough for me to use. So I'm going to give you that Reddit page as well. All right, and I'm going to copy just this part, create a mermaid Gantt chart showing the timeline of, and mermaid is the computer language that it's going to be using. And I'm going to go over to something like Gemini. So let me now move us over to Gemini. All right. And I'm going to say timeline of this document. And I'm going to go ahead and add up again my document. Okay. We'll upload a file. And let's try we'll try that same one as I uploaded earlier at the PDF. All right. And we can see it loading. While it's loading, maybe we can go check on our My Lens. Haha, My Lens is ready for us. So I'm going to go ahead and share this tab. All right, so here's the My Lens one. And again, that was that first document from 1991. I put the very first one in. PSP to CMH, flight from Palm Springs to Columbus via Cleveland and Midway, logged by pilot David Rogers. So this one's actually quite nice. I just uploaded that in there, and it kind of gave me all of this. I could have asked it as well for all the codes for all the different writers, and if I knew them, I could have, tell it, okay, JE is Jeffrey Epstein, GM is Ghislaine Maxwell, and whatever, and fill them all out, and then have it run out. And I think this one turned out so nice, actually. Again, this is mylens.ai. Really nice. Okay, and let's go see how Gemini is doing. All right, so Gemini has uploaded this, and I'm going to go ahead and get the mermaid code, and then we'll go throw it in that little generator. Okay, again, taking a little while. The last one that I have for you is a ChatGPT custom GPT that someone made that actually I think is pretty cool. I will say that the AI tools, they do not have good visualizations for things like this. You're getting a little bit better at infographics, but for example, I'm going to copy that code snippet. The AI tool itself is not going to be very good, right? But that's why we take it over to something like this BibSit and throw it in, and then see if it'll create the diagram for that. And there you go, flight log timeline. Simple, very simple, but usable, right? And then the last one that I have for you is, again, the custom GPT. The creator of it is helpful.dev, is our username. And the reason I really like this one, and again, the link is in the chat. Sign up to chat, you mean sign in. Let me get logged in ChatGPT here. There we go. All right, let me refresh. Oh, there it is. Okay, now it just went to plain old ChatGPT, so I've got to go back. Okay. Or I thought I froze for a moment. I never froze though, right?
No, you never froze.
Okay, good.
I froze at one point.
Oh, did you?
I think, well, or my screen froze.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Like my, I'm working off a Notion. Most of our stuff is on Notion, and my Notion like froze and went a little wonky. So I was trying to like hurry and get back to that ChatGPT link. So, all right. Okay, here we go. Presentation and diagram generator. All right, so now I'm going to upload same file as before. And I'm going to ask it to create a timeline from this document, highlighting the to and from locations. Now, I know that these to and from locations, this one's, the default timeline is going to be a mess, but let's see how it does it. But right here, I could also ask it to go ahead and make that mermaid code. I probably wouldn't. For this one, the reason I like this one actually is because I can ask it, it'll create something for me. I can ask it follow-on questions for like, hey, do a better, visualization. All right, so here's a very simple timeline from page 11, page 12, etc. All right. I might then ask for a graphical timeline. Oh, let's do this one. Create a visual chronologic timeline chart. That's what I want. But because this one's really focused on the diagrams, I can actually ask it, what will be the best? Oh, I don't want to do that. Okay, let's go here. From my document. I did have it working before without logging into any other outside site. Anyway, oh, blocks and arrows. Anyway, give you a whole bunch of choices. Sarah, what's your favorite of them? I'm going to go to my favorite. This mylens.ai was pretty nice.
I'm thinking. It depends what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, this one, the other ones are prettier than this, but this one is.
I think the ones that were manual, where you had to manually input the data, are not as useful as the ones that you can upload the documents to. Just, I mean, unless you're doing like a small project.
Right. The ones that where you have to manually upload data. Let me see if I can find one of those again. Like this one, are beautiful, right? They're beautiful. If you don't have a lot of things that you can like whip this out without having to spend a whole lot of time, that would be great. Another one that was pretty nice. I didn't really get this one to really work so well, but I love the fact that this looks like a spreadsheet. It looks like you could just throw a spreadsheet in. I'm not entirely sure that that's really the case. But another one that I did like was this one over here called Vengage. Mm-hmm. That one I just threw stuff in and it came out kind of beautiful too.
So I was just going to say on the last one, on the custom GPT, I thought that was really cool. At the same time, I would say that before you use any custom GPT, is like we were talking about what I do with that website, is I would check to see, how many people are using it. Are there any reviews of it? If it looks, is it open source or closed source? And I mean,
well, in this case, I'm on ChatGPT, but you're talking about like other ones, like ones off the clock.
Right. But even the ones on ChatGPT, I would try and, vet just a little bit, or sometimes
closed source wouldn't matter.
Right. But what I would do with the ChatGPT ones is sometimes if I think it's something that is maybe a little suspicious, is I might use it in an isolated environment just to make sure it's good.
I'm not really worried too much about anything going past ChatGPT because I run a number of GPTs and I realize how little you get to see of what other people use your GPTs for. But you still might want to go and figure out, okay, who's the developer who did this? Because what else does it do, right? So.
Right. Yep.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's our show for today. I want to say thank you to everybody who came and watched live and chatted with us a little bit. Who knows what the topic's going to be next week? Hopefully you'll come in and check us out in our portal, be one of our supporters. And you ready for your slop of the day?
Slop of the week.
Slop of the week.
Mm-hmm. And you forgot to mention Knowledge Portal.
Oh, yes. Go to our Knowledge Portal, knowledgeportal.pluses.net. And here's your slop of the week.
Yes.
Was home when you left. You're right. Your brother was home when you left. You're right. Your dog was home when you left. You're right.
Sarah, there's 10 hours of it.
You're right.
I know.
So if you want to watch a dog do crazy dances for 10 hours, there you go.
You're right. That's the reason you left. You're right. Your daddy was home when you left.
You're right. Thanks, everyone.
Your was home when you left. You're right. Your brother was home when you left. You're right. Your dog was home when you left. You're right. Your cat was home when you left.